How's this?
Now I can hear you.
Better. Hey, how you going?
Great, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. What's going on?
Oh, recording podcasts, which I'm already
Living the
recording,
dream.
just as an FYI,
What's that, sorry?
which I've already pressed record on as an FYI.
Okay, perfect. No worries. So I'll be as PC as I possibly can from here on out.
Like that. No, I don't want peace.
Okay, perfect.
Have you met me? Come on.
Yeah, who needs it, right? Who needs it?
I've met you, you met me. There's no such thing as PC here.
Brilliant. This is going to go swimmingly then, if that's the case.
Good. I realized today because you may or may not have seen it. I filmed a reel for Instagram
You
to
did.
just as a little like, hey, I'm coming back, blah blah blah. And I
Yeah.
realized I've never ever in my life said your surname before.
Right.
like maybe Aquiningo.
Yeah, pretty much bang on. Yeah, Aquiningo. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I got it. How have you been, man?
So good, man. Yeah, really good. Thank you. Living the dream. I'm up here in Brisbane, Vegas now,
Okay.
as you may know.
Do
Um, yeah. So look, I definitely made the right decision by the looks of things.
well,
Yeah.
what's a little lockdown? It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a great time to be creative and all that sort of stuff as well. But I can imagine things are a little tricky for everyone right now. So I definitely feel for everyone. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for Melbourne a bit more because they've kind of done this a lot more than us.
They have, yeah.
I mean, if you watch the news, nobody's actually fucking locked down, but
yeah, pretty much. Hey,
that's a whole other story.
It looks like people are kind of making up the rules as they go.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Hey, look, thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. Really, I really appreciate this.
Of course, you're an actor or trying to make it, I'm assuming.
We sure are. We're getting it done, right?
Yes,
We're getting it done.
I don't know if I'm getting that much done at the moment, but I'm giving it a red hot go.
This is something though, man. This really is. So it's kudos to you for being proactive and actually, continuing to create stuff at the same time, because this all leads to the end goal ultimately, right? So I mean, yeah, it makes complete sense to just do what you can where you are with what you have, right?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, as you know, actors, the podcast is called Actors Making It. So before I kind of delve into all of your kind of history as an actor and you trying to make it, I'm curious to you, what is making it as far as you're concerned for you?
As far as like what the success is, so to speak, of being an actor, or like,
I don't know. Well, what is success to you, right? I think the term "this person has made it" or whatever, or they're making it, is usually, in my experience, kind of refers to the big time of actually making it. But I think making
like
it,
the A-listers, yeah.
I think making it can mean different things to different people. Some people just want to make a living from just acting and not have to do a corporate job or whatever else. So I guess I'm just keen to know what your version of making it is. And then I guess we'll talk about how what you're doing kind of is feeding into that.
Yeah, of course, man. Now, look, 1,000%, it's relative, right? Like everyone's got a different idea of what success is to them, whether it be this or whatever else is that they actually do. But like for me, like interim, like short-term goals is literally being a working actor, or doing something in the creative space that it's like your everyday sort of thing, and you can get to the point of being able to sort of pick and choose what you do, and be able to be comfortable, financially and within yourself and everything at the same time. So that's the ultimate kind of like making it for me. But then like at the same time, it's also being able to check boxes off of like the things that you literally want to do. So that would be the making it side of things, right? And everything else that comes with that is a bonus as far as I'm concerned. But to not have to go to a 9 to 5 to pay the bills would be so good. And to travel the world doing this thing would be wonderful. COVID aside, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, of course. Oh, very good. So according to your IMDb, you're a actor, director, writer, producer, and all of the other different titles that we can get.
Geez. It's a bit of a fluff piece, isn't it? I don't know who did that.
Say that again.
I don't know who did that. So.
And looking at your IMDb, you've got a good kind of CV of work under your belt at the moment. So that's
thanks, man.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So if I look back at your IMDb, it's I've been doing stuff for the last 7 years.
Would be.
Did it start 7 years ago, or is that just the IMDb journey? Where did this goal start for you?
I probably started taking this more seriously about 7 years ago. That would be fairly accurate. It would have been like 2013, 2014 that I actually really started pushing for this. I have been kind of like doing, like drama and all that sort of stuff through school and being the entertainment to my circle, so to speak, for my entire life. Yeah. So I guess I've kind of always been doing this, but as far as, kind of being able to see this as being a career path and something that I can actually, sink my teeth into and do, it would be probably about 7 years. We sort of start off doing the background work sort of thing and work our way through there.
Yeah, sure. So what was it that kind of drew you to this industry?
Look, I don't know if there's any sort of real one thing that's what kind of drew me to it. I enjoy entertaining and bringing enjoyment to people. So I find this as a means to do that in a larger reach sort of capacity than, just being able to entertain family and friends. Like, it's fun to be silly and even just making yourself smile, like watching back on the things that you do, and to know that that's provided some form of entertainment and break from the norm and escapism, if you will, for those around me. That, like I really enjoy that. And I like being creative and pretending. So I get to put on costumes and pretend to be something I'm not, and have almost no repercussions. So that's great.
Almost no repercussions.
Almost no repercussions. Yeah, I still look like a fool, but I accepted that a long time ago.
I think that's fun. I think I guess my first introduction to you was actually, were you at the lunch with Justin Harriman? Is that when I met you?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, in my head, it was the first time I met you was seen on screen, but that's not true.
No, I guess it was a nice coincidence, because it wouldn't have been so long after that we met at Seen on Screen. In like a working sort of capacity. But we casually met with Justin and Patrick and Chris was there as well. Yes,
it was a very funny. I think I left with a sore stomach from laughing so much, which I'd not done in a while.
Yeah, Chris is pretty funny looking, isn't he?
He is. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's.
But I remember the first time I got to, I guess, work with you at Seen on Screen, and I remember thinking that, fuck, this guy is good. He has like just raw talent.
Thanks, man.
But I think it was more the comfort of who you are and the comfortableness in your skin to either be humorous or kind of lean into the drama of the particular scene. And I can't remember what the scene was. I mean, it's fucking 4 something years ago now. But I just remember thinking, you're so comfortable. Have you always felt that comfort in front of the camera?
No. No. It's definitely been a transition over the years. I guess I've never felt so like uncomfortable to the point that it was like paralyzing, but you definitely have those moments where you kind of become a little bit of a deer in the headlights kind of thing, where you take a few extra beats to to really sort of find yourself. But that's all part of like the craft and the journey itself. Like, just about everyone's never at their peak when they first start, right? So I mean, some people are very lucky just to not care and continue on not caring for the whole thing, and because they're so relaxed, it works out so well for them. But look, it's definitely all through the the work that you put through everything over the years, and you eventually get there. Even now, like if you don't do it for a little while, you still have to find your place.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
It can go away a little bit if it's just like working out, like your muscles start to, disappear after a little while if you're not constantly working at it. So, and it's the same sort of thing. Like being in front of camera it can be daunting. It's when you see that lens, you go, oh wow.
Yeah.
Everything kind of just goes away around you, and you're like, oh, I cannot not be seen at this point.
Yeah. No, cool. Yeah. Okay. So that kind of leads in nicely to, I guess, what your journey has been then, because, whenever I watch something with you, you just, instantly seem believable in whatever it is that I'm watching you do.
Thanks, man.
Well, I mean, I'm not just trying to pay you compliments to be nice. I am a nice guy, but
you're a sweetheart.
You can watch different people, and you can tell sometimes when they're not comfortable or they're a little bit unsure of themselves. And you've obviously worked really hard to kind of reach that point. I think a lot of, there's a lot of people that want to be actors that don't really understand the level of commitment and the work and the graft that you've got to put in to actually get to that point. And even then, sometimes we'll get to the point of being completely comfortable and whatever, and then nobody's inviting you in for an audition and you're not actually fucking getting anywhere. So, I'm keen to hear a little bit about your personal journey and, the types of things that you've been focusing on, whether it be an education perspective or creative perspective, to get you to that point.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's not really any one thing in particular, and I would like that to be my career path ultimately, is not, kind of getting put in a box anywhere. Like I love doing comedy. It's really fun. And I kind of feel almost like a fish to water, or a duck to water is probably, that's the saying, right? Fish live in water. So a duck to water.
Yeah, duck to water is the official saying, but I think fish to water works.
Yeah, cool. I've been a fish outside of water. And then when I get into comedy, I end up becoming, I feel at home and I can breathe properly. But no, look, I mean, comedy is like, I suppose how do I term this? I feel like I'm not trying too hard when I do comedy, if that makes sense. Like it kind of just, it's easier to just sort of slip in and find the beats. And I feel like I can see those fairly clearly when it comes to doing it. It's, I don't know, like I haven't necessarily worked on it. I feel like it's just being around funny people and wanting to keep up with everyone else. You kind of, naturally find the mold, so to speak.
Sure.
But I love doing drama, and I want to, get a taste of just about everything. But the drama is, for me, is where the work sort of really starts to kick in.
Yeah.
And like I've never been to any sort of like formal training as far as like a school or anything like that is concerned.
Going to be my next question. What's your formal training?
Yeah, no formal training. So I've never gone to like an acting school, so to speak. I've done plenty of workshops, and Seeing on Screen was great for that as well, because it's literally like that drop-in kind of class. Obviously you do it in blocks of the month and whatever, but you can sort of come and go as you please, and it's like it's a PT sesh for performing, basically, right? So I've done lots of.
Was that a conscious decision to not go to a drama school or anything like that?
To a degree. I'm not a great student. No, yeah, look to a degree, it's I'm not a great student, right? So like if I were to go to like a drama school and have to sit there for 2-3 years, even though it's something that you genuinely enjoy, I'd be like, I feel like I could be out there doing it rather than being here learning how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm very much a learn on the job kind of guy. So I've done plenty of that through like short film or just, being around people on set and just watching how other people work and sort of going from there. So like lots of workshops and short courses and all sorts of stuff over those 7 years. But yeah, never officially went to a school, and I don't see myself ever having to do that personally.
No, I mean, I don't think
continue honing the craft.
I don't think it's necessary.
No.
Personally, I watched a snippet of an interview with Idris Elba and Kate Winslet earlier today, and
like Actors on Actors or something.
I don't know what it was.
Okay.
Oh no, it was an Instagram post by a branding archetype specialist.
Oh right.
Brandology, and he just shared something about just shared this interview. But Kate Winslet was talking about the fact that she'd never been to any kind of formal drama school or acting school or anything.
Sure.
Done spectacularly within her career, so it's not something that is necessarily needed. But I think, especially in Australia, we could be forgiven to think that that is the path that people have to go through to NIDA or Whopper or take that kind of direction.
Yeah, I think that is still the stigma to, not so much now, but definitely in the past, 20, 30 years of people. And you look at I guess the people who have kind of got to that point, that sort of A-list celebrity mark, like Hugh Jackman went to Whopper, and Kate Blanchett went to NIDA, and all these guys who are just so great and who have, really hit it, so to speak. They went down that traditional path, but it's just not necessary anymore. Like, we have the internet now.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So, I mean, you can create your own stuff. We can film something on our phones and it almost looks like it was done, professionally, or at least enough that it doesn't look shit. So, you can submit it to agents, or if you're freelance, you can get it to casting directors on your own and all sorts of stuff like that. So you can just jump in the hustle, right? Like, it doesn't have to be any particular route that you need to take. Like, there are so many different roads that lead there. Some take a little bit longer. Sometimes you're a bit fortunate to be offered a car instead of having to be on foot. Like, it's just what it is. And, and everyone has a different approach, and it's just so accessible. So it's not necessary. Some people need it. And if that's what you need to do, that's great. It's just like being on set or doing the work. Everyone's got a different process. And some people's process is that they need to go to a school, and that's great. Because especially if you're starting out, you get to network with people who are like-minded and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's probably the most important thing, is to find the community and get into the community, because everything starts to happen from there.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
The whole notion of it's not what you know, it's who you know isn't necessarily completely true. It's just also being around people to help prop you up. Like, that's all it is, right?
Yeah. So speaking of finding your little network and making your own stuff and guys to prop you up, that leads very well into the fact that you are 1/3 of a little trio of Arc Productions, right?
That's us, Arc Productions, ARC.
So you obviously create a lot of content, the three of you regularly. Actually, how's that gone with you having moved to Brisbane?
Yeah. Well, the troop has been split, obviously. So that has made things difficult somewhat in the past, 6-8 months that I've been here. 8 months now. 8 months. 8 months since I moved back to Queensland. We can still communicate as far as creative projects are concerned, remotely, right? And correct. Yeah, exactly right. So we have the technology, we have the internet. But I've been fortunate enough to come back a couple times before things, went south a little bit then in Sydney, unfortunately. So we have content coming out soon that we shot a whole bunch of when I was down there. And that was the plan. The plan was always to come up here to be closer to family, and kind of, mix things up again, because I felt like I was getting pretty comfortable in Sydney. So I needed to shake things up. and come back and put some more work in. But I always wanted to go jump back and forth over every couple months, go down there. We'll record some podcasts, we'll shoot some sketches, we'll do some writing, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case for the past 3 months. But we did 5 sketches, I'm pretty sure it was, when I was last down there. So they're coming soon, and Chris released an old one just the other day that we shot like 3 years ago.
Okay. I was having a look on the Arc Productions YouTube channel earlier today. So I didn't see anything new.
I don't think he put it on YouTube. I think he just shared it on our Instagram just because it's more of a throwback sort of video.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got the ability to kind of recycle a little bit here and there, but yeah. And we put a bunch of podcasts in the bag too. So that there'll be, so we put a bunch of podcasts in the bag as well while I was down there. So they're being released at the moment as well.
Yeah, of course. I will share all of your social media stuff, obviously, when this goes out. But if you actually, we'll wait to the end. You can give a plug to all of your stuff for people that chime in. But I'll make sure that they're in the notes as well. But yeah, obviously, making content is something that you three are particularly good at, and it's always in that kind of comedic, sketchy realm, which is not sketchy, sketch comedy.
No, it's sketchy. Yeah.
which is always fun. So you just kind of spoke about the fact that you moved back to Queensland because you felt like you were getting a little bit comfortable. Can you touch on that a little bit for me? What do you mean by that?
Well, look, I mean, like, we had been living down there at that point, like, just over 4 years, which was great, and I loved it. And I genuinely miss Sydney. I love that city so much. Yeah, and I had a whole different life down there, basically, is what it felt like.
Sure.
So I genuinely love it. I miss it. I miss being like in big city. But Brisbane is home. Brisbane's always been home. COVID kept me away from family for a long time, obviously last year, which was tricky, which is, the base of the decision that I made. But I also felt like just the day in, day out of like working life, like 9 to 5, because unfortunately I think isn't paying the bills right now. Just, yeah. So, that sort of day in, day out, and not necessarily always being as proactive as we'd like, because we had different schedules all the time, and it's kind of easy to sort of slip into a rut to a degree. Like with Arc, it definitely breathed a lot more life back into our stuff, because we were sort of operating as separate entities for a little while, but working together. So we're finally able to put a banner over it, but it was just tricky to create content as much as we would have liked to.
Yeah.
So I felt like it's just a combination of everything, and I needed something different. And Sydney, the original move to Sydney was the difference that I needed. So coming back to Brisbane as, for family ultimately, but to be able to, pull myself out of what was almost becoming another security blanket was going to be important for growth. And it has been. Like I've done a lot more up here than what I thought I was going to initially. So it's been good.
Yeah. So on your IMDb, it looks like at least in this year, you've got 5 different productions, or 5 different 5 different credits that have made their way to IMDb at least. Working a little bit since the move back to Queensland.
Yeah, a little bit, man. I recently wrapped on a proof of concept for a feature film out in Ipswich, which was great. It's called Falling in Slow Motion. So definitely go and check out the socials on that, because there's plenty of clips and things coming out of the proof of concept. But that's hopefully going to get developed into a feature film. It's a romantic comedy. It's about building awareness around chronic illness, and it's a really sweet love story between almost like an unlikely couple, so to speak. So it's really lovely, and it was a lot of fun. So that was kind of what took up like the early part of 2021, but with lockdowns and everything like that in between, things have started and stopped. But that would be, yeah, that's the most recent one. I went down to Sydney to do a short film as well, which I think is on there now. And the other credits we would have shot last year. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's that's it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's on the IMDb right now, but there you go. 5 credits.
There's some stuff on there. So I think, are you with an agent at the moment, or are you freelance? How do you find your work?
No, I'm represented. Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm with an agent. We've been together now for almost 3 years, I want to say.
Okay.
Things are going really well. Getting a lot of auditions at the moment because there's a lot of things being shot up here, which is great. Yeah, but no, I did the freelance thing for a little while, and that was good. It was a learning curve, and I didn't really want to necessarily sign with an agent at the time, but I just put out some feelers. And I had a couple of offers, which was really nice, and I decided to go with who I'm with at the moment. So
nice.
Yeah, it's been really great.
Get a couple of offers. Can't say I've ever been in the position where I've had a couple of offers.
You will, man. You will. It's coming. Don't worry. You're making all the right steps.
So I'm keen to hear, because it's, everything seems relatively positive so far from your experience. But you have touched on that you were in a little bit of a rut. I think from a momentum perspective, and from us trying to grind and graft, we're obviously not always inundated with auditions, or we obviously don't get every role that we audition for. Are you someone that suffers from mental health wise when it comes to questioning yourself in that area?
I think we all do as actors. There's definitely a lot of self-doubt that goes with the career path that we chose.
Sure.
I'm not the type of person that gets like strung up on like the nose of the industry. I just know that that's part of the territory. Like, it obviously gets tiresome to a degree because you want a yes, but it's not like, I'll be like, oh shit, I really fucked that audition. And I'm like, all right, well, I like to think that I wasn't the worst person that they saw today. So that I'm going to take, I'm going to take some positive vibes out of that, because if I'm not the best, I'm hopefully not the worst. So we'll occupy that middle ground. If they ask me back, then that's always a good sign as well, right?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you don't want to piss off casting, right?
Ideally not.
Yeah. So no, look, I don't struggle necessarily with that side of things.
Okay.
It's the constant grind can definitely weigh you down to a degree. And any kind of, like, the move for me was quite challenging at the same time as it's being so positive. Like, you can't help but feel like you're taking a little bit of a step back, because you've been down there doing something that you wanted to do for so long, and then having to re-find your feet again, almost feeling like you have to start over.
Yeah.
That, if anything, something like that is what's going to bring me down for a little while, but I don't like to sit in it, because I am not productive at that point, right? So I can't complain about something that I have control over fixing. That's not how I look at it. I don't like to be a victim. I'm gonna go on the offensive. We all have our moments, right? So I'll take a moment to kind of breathe and figure out what my next move is. But I'll take 24, 48 hours, and then, all right, let's go. Let's get to work.
So is that your typical coping mechanism, to take a day, 2 days to just let it feel and then leave it by the wayside?
Yeah, I mean, it'll vary depending on how severely I've sort of taken a hit, I suppose. Like, sometimes I'll kind of just disappear for like a week. I'll sort of go off grid. I'll kind of go off grid and just, not ghost people or whatever, but I'll just sort of stick to myself and kind of figure out.
I mean, this has gone from This has gone from I don't really let it affect me to I go off grid for a week so that I don't.
Yeah, well, it's because yeah, pretty much. It's going to get worse. It's
So
going
it
to get
affects you a
really bad.
little bit.
It affects me a little bit, but like I'm not incapacitated to that point. Like I just kind of need a bit of quiet to clear my head and wrap my brain around how to tackle this next objective, right? And like sometimes it'll be worse than others, but for the most part, it doesn't take very long. And it can sort of go up and down. Like it might be like a few days here, and then you're gun ho, and then it kind of catches up to you for some reason or another.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like,
sure. I mean, look, I can
but
empathize.
that's life.
I think most actors can empathize with that. But no, I don't think a lot of people are necessarily always that are that good at or that capable of recognizing that it's not necessarily you. It's like if you don't get a no or you don't get invited back to an audition, or sorry, if you don't get a yes or you don't get invited back to an audition. So not everybody can necessarily deal with that in
Sure.
a pragmatic way. So it's kind of, I think it's interesting to explore how people deal with that kind of stuff. I mean, one of the things that part of the reason for this podcast and the content of this podcast is hopefully to make all of those actors out there that are effectively focusing on themselves and their own career and, well, why aren't I making it? I see my friends doing this. I see this person doing this, yet I'm not getting an audition, or I'm not getting past the audition phase, or my agent isn't doing enough for me. And I think what I really want people to take from this is that it's not just you. It's not you. It's not an individual. I mean, it feels very individual, but it's not an individual thing. I think it's very easy. I mean, I have a friend who just decided one day, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do acting. I'm gonna be an actor. I'm like, okay, well, I can help you out. Join Star now, $25, and you can get, you'll make it back relatively quickly. So, oh, I'm not paying to do anything. Like and I'm not taking time off work to do stuff unless I'm being paid. There are a lot of people that I think will just. There's a lot of people that think that they can that it'll just happen overnight, and the reality is, it's years and years of graft and education. It maybe not formal education, but different types of education. I think I've spent way more money trying to become an actor than I have made, for sure.
Yeah, it's the reality of it, unfortunately. And yeah, that's what they say. It's like it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
Yeah.
All
right, we're getting close.
We are getting close.
Not like you
3
are.
more years.
You are. I think I've probably got another 6 years to.
Yeah, right. So you only started doing this like 4 years ago, or like have you? Because didn't you do shows and stuff with Justin?
I did, but I've only really been seriously putting the pedal to the metal the last 4.5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm moving to London next year, and I have this big dream that I'm going to get there, and everything's going to work out. And I'm not starting again. It's a continuation, and it'll all happen in my first year.
That's it. Yeah, 100%. Like you'll be starting from the top floor up rather than from the base, right?
Even after 5 years, nearly 5 years of doing it, I'm still delusional that it'll happen nice and quickly.
Look, man, you got to believe before everybody else does, right? So, I mean, that's the right mindset to have, is that, because I mean, it's not an if, it's a when, right? Like that's how I look at it. And the when could be in 5 months from now, or it could be in another 15 years. Like you just don't know, but you just gotta, if you want it, you got to keep going for it. Like it's not something you kind of just try and then go, all right, it didn't work, and then move on to something else. Yeah.
Definitely need to be resilient to make it in the industry. Do you think
Totally.
do you think you've always had a level of resilience personally?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really know when it started, I suppose, but I've had a lot of ups and downs, like particularly through like my younger years and into sort of young adulthood. So, I mean, I've been able to develop a fairly good self-awareness, like like we were saying like before, like kind of I disappear for a week or so, or like take 24 to 48 hours, is because I'm like reassessing myself. Like I'm going through everything and trying to figure out what's not working. And I feel like I've been able to, do a pretty good job of that for the most part, to kind of get myself back on track, rather than, slipping into anything more sinister, whether that be external or internal, right? So I I think that's been part of like my building of resilience, if you will,
Yep.
just being able to continually check myself.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, like I had to go through a little bit of stuff like sort of on my own, not because no one was around, but because everything else that was going on around me was a little bit bigger than what I was going through. So
Yeah.
I was able to recognize that from a pretty young age, and like let the more important stuff go ahead, and I'll deal with what's going on myself.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, yeah, and like it's probably both a good and a bad thing, because I'm not one to ask for help a lot of the time, but it's definitely helped me as far as being able to steer my ship by myself, to some degree. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So
Well, self-awareness is definitely something that's important in this industry for sure.
yeah, it translates in life as well, which is good.
Of course.
But yeah,
Speaking of life, so obviously, well, not obviously, you kind of touched on the fact that acting's not necessarily paying the bills. What is at the moment? Are you just working one job, two jobs, 10 jobs to pay the bills? What's going on at the minute?
no, I'm working the one job. I work in retail, so the that's the 9 to 5, so to speak. But that pays the bills, and I work with a fairly large team, so it's simple enough for me to kind of disappear if I need to, and people know my circumstances, and they're more than willing to help out,
Okay.
which is great.
Do you,
Yeah,
because that in itself is not necessarily always that easy to do.
no,
To find a job that will accept that you're also an actor and that's what you're kind of striving towards.
for sure. Yeah, and I've been incredibly fortunate to have like really supportive managers, as well as other team members who are willing to pick up my slack, so to speak. Um,
Are you still at the same company as you're working with down here?
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, which made my move really easy as well, because it's a nationwide company. So it was literally just putting in a transfer, and I got a location up here, which is a hella busy location and with a great team. So
Nice.
makes the days go faster, and people are just great. So yeah, I've been very fortunate in that sense, because I know not everyone has that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's made life easier when it comes to my career.
For those that might be struggling as far as that is concerned, um, how do you go about broaching your, I guess, company about, well, this is what I do and I need that kind of flexibility?
Yeah, well, I mean, I find honesty to be the best solution.
Honestly, who's honest? We don't do honesty.
Yeah. I mean, I lie on my CV, but I don't lie to the people that I work with. Um, no, look, I was straight down the middle when coming into my most recent jobs since doing this.
Mm.
Like, if they weren't willing to take me on with that in mind, then I was like, all right, well, I'll find something else, because, like, at the end of the day, I'm a team player, right? And I felt like for so many years I was willing to kind of roll over and just not push for what I wanted to do, or like if I thought it was going to be too inconvenient to everyone else, I wouldn't, take a gig, even though if it's unpaid or whatever. It's
Yeah.
still part of the growth, and you don't know who you're going to meet on set, right? You
Well,
could end up
exactly.
working with Nick Spielberg, like you just don't know.
Oh, look,
So
I think it's an interesting topic personally, because as someone like you who is trying to make it in the industry, you read conflicting stories or blog posts or hear different interviews about what you should be doing as an actor. I mean, the reality is we all need to fucking eat. We're not gonna we're not going to survive if we don't have a roof over our head and we don't eat food. But you know, I can read some blog posts that are acting you must not have a full-time job. You must be full-time working on your acting if you ever think you're going to make it. And I think that that's a bit of a fallacy, really, to be thinking in those terms, especially, you know, I think in Australia where there isn't, you know, we're not inundated with opportunity for the size of the market that there is as far as actors are concerned.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, in some places of the world where in like, say the amateur theater scene is still paying, like if you're able to go and, you know, do a few shows in between like other like larger paying gigs or whatever it may be, like that's great. Or if you're able to get someone to, you know, sponsor you, so to speak, like if you had someone who was willing to take care of you financially for, you know, 12 months or whatever, like if you were able to put full-time work into this for 12 months,
Yeah.
you're going to get a lot further than somebody who's only able to put in, you know, part-time amounts, right? So
am I hearing you're taking applications for sugar mamas at the moment?
I am, yes, exactly. Yeah. That's so if you want to go to www. Yeah, why do you think I worked in North Sydney for so long? uh, Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but that's okay. That's why I moved back. Yeah, exactly. I'll know for next time. So that's why I've got an application process now. It's straight down the middle, no ulterior motive.
Have you ever had that opportunity to kind of stop all other work and just focus wholeheartedly on acting for a year?
No, not necessarily. No. You know, I've been able to step back to a degree and like only work, you know, 3 or so days a week, say for example. But even that's a slog. Like, I mean, you're still on casual wage, and you know, you make things work, but there is definitely a lot of 2-minute noodle meals and stuff like that, right? So, yeah, it definitely comes with sacrifice. The whole thing comes with sacrifice, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, that opportunity hasn't quite come my way, unfortunately. I'm doing okay at the moment. Like I don't have to necessarily work so much, although I am at the moment because of staffing situations and nothing else is going on. But yeah, like this is probably the first maybe 12 months that I've kind of been able to become a lot more relaxed when it comes to taking shifts, for example.
Yeah.
But you know, it'll happen one day. Like, you know, you get a good enough paying gig and you can sort of sit back and go, all right, well, this is good. We can,
yeah,
we can step back a little bit further or whatever it may be. But yeah.
Okay. So
it's getting there, but we're not quite there yet.
I'm sure you'll be there in no time. What, another
Thanks,
3 years?
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
10-year rule.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So with all of the work that you've done over the last however many years, obviously that's just 7, not however many.
7-ish. We'll say 7-ish.
So over the years, have you got a particular piece of work that you're particularly proud of?
I wouldn't say one necessarily stands out more than anything else. I really enjoy doing Blackwater because I got to live out a childhood dream of being a cowboy. So that was really cool.
Okay.
I grew up watching like John Wayne and, you know, Audie Murphy and all those guys. So that was a lot of fun. But I mean, everything has something special to me, whether it be like the on-set experience or the content that we do for one project or another, because some really like great stories as far as like what the content is and how the people were actually able to put it together.
Yeah.
Like, you know, indie filmmaking is really quite special. So being around that is like really innovative people is always fun to watch and be a part of, because you're like, I know how we did that and it didn't look like it was going to turn out like that. So well done.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, no, I love them all. I genuinely do. So nothing I would say stands out, but that's a cool side note on Blackwater, is literally being able to be a cowboy. So
okay.
You felt like you're a cowboy. You put on the gear and then you jump on the horse and you're like, yeah, this is it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always find acting is that, I mean, it's not an easy job. Because it's not always secure, but from a actual from a delivery perspective, it's not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of work that goes into being an actor, but I tend to find when you get to actually dress up and embody a character and something like that, it makes it that little bit easier to kind of
Oh,
really
yeah.
get to it.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. I think Ian McKellen even said that. He was like, once I got into Gandalf's like robe and everything, he was like, oh yeah, I am. This is it. I can feel it. Like,
yeah.
and to hear that people at that stature, as far as the industry is concerned, to go through those similar feelings is nice. It's a nice reminder that, we're not far off as far as like our mindset is going into these types of things, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a now, I mean, I've not been to a formal drama school. I did one year and a bit of a second year of a performing arts degree and then quit because I fucking hated it. But I have done obviously lots of different classes when it comes to breaking down scripts and that kind of stuff. Do you have personally a particular process or method to how you approach preparing for any type of role?
No, not necessarily. No. Sometimes I won't even know how I'm going to play the character until the night before.
Right.
Like you kind of go back and forth in your head. Like, I don't like, how am I going to do this? And then it like, it can just come to you like an epiphany. And I find I do my best work under pressure as well, in whether it be this or anything else. So when the going gets tough, like things start to rise to the surface a little easier. I don't know why.
Okay. So it's
Yeah,
it's not necessarily like a wing it type thing, but
no, I mean, in comedy, yeah, there's a lot of improv in the stuff. It's particularly the stuff that we do with ARC. Like we'll have like a skeleton, so to speak, but like the organs and the nerves and the meat isn't necessarily always there, right?
yeah.
So I mean, we do a lot of improv as far as that's concerned. So yes, there is certainly an element of winging it. And I like to throw curveballs into things that I'm doing. And if no one tells me to stop, I won't. So you might find that I throw something different in at the end of every take. I do that with my self tapes as well. I try and like throw a little my own stank on it at the very end.
I heard the term for that as a button this week.
What's that? Sorry?
I heard a term this week that's called a button, where you
yes.
add. I'd never ever heard that term before.
Yeah, my agent has mentioned it to me a few times when I've like sent tapes back to them, and yeah, they throw that word in at the end of the email, and I'm like, what? But it makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it because a button like holds everything together?
I think it's more like almost like a buzzer, like a button, like you're just hitting something random and it just pops out, sort of thing. If that makes sense. Like,
I mean, it does. Whether or not that's actually what it means, I just found it interesting that it's not something that I personally have ever thought of when it comes to, my own self tapes.
Adding the things in, you mean?
Like a thing on the end. So, I mean,
yeah,
look, something that I'm clearly going to have to start doing.
You can. It's entirely up to you, really. At the end of the day, like and every casting director is going to be different as well, right? Like some will appreciate it, some will be like, "Why are you doing that? Stick to the script." Like it's just, it's a gamble, but sometimes it can pay off. Because I feel like they're going to see the same thing so often, and if it's fairly obvious on paper, it's more than likely that they're going to get a fairly similar performance out of most people. So if I can throw like a little bit of extra like pixie dust, if you will, at the very end, and maybe help it fly, then who knows? We'll see what happens. But no one's told me to stop. So, and it's the same with like if I'm on set. So
it sounds like something's working for you. So
yeah, good. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still waiting to book something. So maybe not. Maybe they all hate me. Maybe I'm blacklisted now from most of the Casting Guild Australia. I don't know.
I'm sure that's not the case because you're still getting auditions. So that's That is a positive. Auditioning is the job.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, yeah. You're doing constant job interviews, basically, is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what's the weird thing.
So what is I mean, obviously, at the beginning, you said what your idea of making it was and what your kind of short-term goals are and etc. But what's the next step for you on that path to making it?
Oh, look, being able to resign my job and know that I'm going to be okay financially. I think that's going to be the next step. Yeah, literally just being able to pay the bills completely based on creative work. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be acting, but like just within like the compounds of what we do. Yeah.
Do you see yourself being in Australia forever from this perspective, or do you have aspirations for the US or the UK or anything like that?
I definitely have aspirations to work around the world. I don't know if I would do the traditional sense of like moving to the US or moving to the UK and like not necessarily starting from scratch, but like having to then like find my way in that industry.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in a very fortunate position at the moment with the amount of international productions that are coming out here that the more traditional sense of going over there and establishing yourself isn't necessarily the only way now. Like
Sure.
you can, you, if you're fortunate enough to build up enough credits doing the international jobs, like through just living in Australia, you could basically just go over there and, you know, get seen for the more substantial work rather than having to start from the entry point of that particular industry.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, look, I mean, I would love to a degree to have that part of the journey, like the more traditional sense of the journey, to have those stories, for example. But I don't know. I don't know if I really want to make a complete move to LA, for example.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, not right now. If you asked me 5 years ago, you would have said, yeah, 100%. But I think the opportunities now are coming thick and fast that it's not so important.
Yeah, I need to move back to Queensland. Sounds like it's where it's all at.
Yeah, you might have to, man. They just announced a Disney Plus series being shot here, Nautilus. So
Is
that's
that the
going to start.
one up on the North Queensland, or was that?
I think it's going to be shot on the GC, Gold Coast, and then yeah, maybe part of it in North Queensland because I mean maybe for some like exterior shots, but you know, Village Roadshow has a massive water tank there, so I think a lot of it sort of takes place underwater or in water. So yeah, they'll probably
Nice.
just utilize that for the most part. Because how long have you been out of Queensland? Are you Queensland born originally?
Yeah, I'm from Brisbane originally.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Spent 8 years living in the UK,
yeah,
not really understanding what it took to be an actor. Like I started trying to get acting work there, and I did some extra work, which isn't frowned upon over there like it is here.
sure.
Which I did for a little bit, but I didn't understand what it took to become an actor at that point in time. And I worked full time in a call center, and my agent would call me and say, "Hey, we've got you on audition." I'm like, "Hey, I've got a shift tomorrow, so I can't do it."
Yeah.
It wasn't long before my agent was like, "Hey, we're never calling you again."
Yeah, they don't like it, eh?
They do
They
not.
don't like it. No.
Then yeah, moved back to Queensland in 2009, but moved to Sydney in 2011. But as I said, only really been focusing on the acting properly in the last 4 years or so.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, mate. We'll kind of wrap it up here, but if you were to give one piece of advice to someone that was trying to make it at the moment, what would it be?
Well, like I said a little bit earlier, it's just getting to the community ultimately. I mean, you know, and that could be to do with training, or that could be like, you know, going through like the online casting thing, like of Star Now or something like that, for example, or you know, getting into Facebook groups because a lot of stuff gets put up there as well. You know, like to do with student films and whatever else. But get into the community, you know, go and do some classes and start to be around those people that are like-minded and who can start to help guide you through the whole process. Because for someone who doesn't know where to start, it's always good to be around people and get an idea of how they started, because if it's all going to be different, and something might be a little bit more aligned to like your approach or what you are hoping to achieve ultimately. So yep, get amongst other actors and other creatives, because that's where it's really going to start to blossom.
Of course. Amazing. Well, it's worked for you, so I think that's we can all take on board. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate this. This has been great.
And if anybody wants to follow you, where can they follow you?
I'm on all social media platforms with at Jesse Dingo. So on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Yeah, I think that's everything. So not all platforms, but those three. yeah, they're around there somewhere. Obviously, we got Arc Productions as well that we've spoken about. So that's Arc ARC productions.aus on Instagram, as well as what's the other one? TikTok. We're on that as well. And we've got a podcast called #ActorsLife, which is available on all your favorite podcatchers. So go and check that out. We just talk shit basically with other artists, and it's great fun, which we will get you on as well once we're able to figure out how to get all three of us together virtually.
Well, I mean, we can pretty much do the exact same thing we're doing now.
We're doing it now. So I'll get the boys to pull their finger out, and we'll go from there.
Thanks very much, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you're looking great, by the way. I was seeing all your Instagram posts. You're working hard, and it's all coming together. You're a chiseled man.
Doing my best.
And it's showing. So keep it up.
Awesome. Cheers.
Love the hustle, man. Take care. Hey.